Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, April 25th, 2022. I hope everybody had a good weekend, and I hope you got some work done this past week. I really do. It's been some nice weather out, and I'm trying to take advantage of it. I'm sure the rest of you are as well. I know there's some parts of the country are probably still suffering with some extreme weather conditions, but here in the South in Georgia, the temperature's coming up. It was pretty warm today. I know it was probably around 80 degrees or so, and it's supposed to go down a little bit throughout the week, but I'm happy with the weather at this point. Had to take advantage of it. Came home from work, did a few things, and ended up seeing Roger mowing his yard, next door neighbor. So I said, well, I need to go mow my yard. And the problem with that is you end up with pollen and all that junk in the air, and so now my eyes are itchy, but I've taken some allergy pills. So I'm hoping that it goes smooth tonight. But anyway, I hope everybody is having a good day so far. If you're new to this chat, we tend to talk about classic cars, Mustangs, Camaros, Mopars, all that sort of thing. And if you're interested in bringing up a topic of conversation, by all means, please do ask a question, and we'll see if we can't answer it. If I can't answer it, there's usually a good group of people over here in the chat box who can give a good response. And I appreciate all of them being here. They all get a bell for being here. So that's how it works. Good answers, whoops, you get a bell. Little reward system I have. So anyway, let's see who is here and get started. First up is Terry Keithley. Evening, everyone, and Barry Frost tonight. Burr, please hit the like and thumbs up button. Thank you. Yeah, Frost. Ooh, yeah, not good. But I'll give you a bell for being here first, Terry. Simone is here. If any of you remember, last Monday we had Simone on the live stream with me, and had talked about the stuff that she's doing over there in the UK. And, we exchanged some stickers. So I received today, at least I picked it up today, an official Hooked on Classics sticker from Simone. And it came with a secondary sticker. And I think she has an association with whoever this person is, Ken's Small Engine Repair. So a little shout out to Ken and to Simone for the stickers. So, Simone, yours is in the mail. Hope you got it. Let's see. Ed Cucciarella. Hello, all. Glad you're here, Ed. Leonard. Evening, all from the high desert. Glad you're here, Leonard. Brian. Good afternoon from North Idaho. Hope good things for all. Great vids on the Camaro Barry. Thanks for all you teach us. Thank you, Brian. It's really been rewarding, to get back into sheet metal and, cover some ground and see the progress, especially for me. I like to get into it, cut up stuff, weld it back together, and try to make it as good as I can. And this has been pretty rewarding, especially after all the stuff going on with the other car that I was working on. Thank you, Brian. Roger, greetings from next door. Glad you're here. Troy, good evening, all. It's starting to get hot and humid here in coastal Georgia. Time for the air conditioner. In fact, you probably can't hear it. I turned on my mini split. I just turned it on like 10 minutes ago, and I'm enjoying the cool, fresh air from my mini split already. I'll give myself a thumbs up and a bell. I may have to turn it off because it's already starting to chill down pretty good in here. Crash Rider. Greetings from Southern Indiana to everyone. Be sure to show Joe Daddy some love and hit the thumbs up button. Yes. Thank you, Crash Rider. Robert. We have something we're going to talk about with Robert, too. Okay, I'm here. We can all start. And after I berate my air compressor for its switch going bad during painting. Yes. And, well, you know what? Since we're here, we've got Robert right there. I'm going to show what Robert is doing, because I managed to get myself the picture he sent me and get it up here, and let's take a look and see what Robert is working on. So, ready? Boom. I think that looks really good. I think it looks really good. I mean, it's hard to beat when you've got paint on everything. It's all one color, and it looks good. Really hard to beat that. So give a bell to Robert, even though he has compressor issues. So we may come back and look at that in a little while when we get some more people here. But glad you're making progress on that. Richard, good evening. Hope everyone is doing great. Glad you're here, Richard. Bob Shoemaker, good evening from Oklahoma. Finally got some decent weather, but still windy. Yeah, it's yeah, we're having some really good weather right now, and it's, you know, this is the time of year where the weather, I'm not saying it's perfect here in Georgia, but it's really close, because probably in the next couple weeks we're going to start seeing a temperature climb, and it's just going to get hot and muggy. But that's okay. I like it. I like to have the heat. I prefer that over the cold. Gary, hello, coffee drinkers. Glad you're here. Pretty sure that's right. Gary, right? I think so. Simone, I had a good day. Spent a few hours in the garden. Well, that's always a plus. That's always a plus. Give you a bell for that. I don't seem to have time for a garden. I have a couple of blueberry bushes. I have a goji bush that's still alive, and I have I think we have a fig tree that's in a pot in the house, and what's the other one? Hazelnut. I have a hazelnut tree. That's about it. Everything else, normally when I plant something, the deer come by and destroy it, and I had to put a dog kennel around my hazelnut tree just so that the rabbits and the deer wouldn't destroy it. So hopefully it survives and can start eventually producing hazelnuts. Wally checking in. Joe Daddy's Garage making rainy Monday just a little better. Hope everyone is well. Glad you're here, Wally. Hope things are going your way. Rick Stevenson, hi all. Hi, Rick. And Robert, it's been so dry, I haven't had any grass to cut this year. Well, it's growing here. I can tell you that. It is definitely growing here. Simone, yeah, I'm glad it arrived okay, Barry. Yours has not arrived just yet. Yeah, well, I think you had the advantage with the ones you sent me, being more local. Thomas, hi Barry and everybody. Thomas from San Diego, California. I did go with the American Auto Wire for the 70 Mustang, 510-243, after going back and forth in your advice and everybody else's advice. Thank you. Okay, cool. Good deal. And Thomas, also on the 70 Mustang floor. Yes, that helped me out. I finally got the passenger side in ready to spot weld it in with the toe panel. Awesome. Good. Good. Simone saying hi to Robert. Troy, nice Robert. Look, that looks good. Leonard says, wow, it looks great. Yeah, let's take another look at that while we're here. I'm jealous, actually. I mean, you got a rotisserie. You're able to spray the whole underside of the car. That's fantastic. It looks really good. I mean, obviously, like I said, you get color on something, one solid color. When we can't, we look at it and we know it looks great. And I'm sure in my case, in Robert's case, he's probably looking at it and go, I missed a spot there, or something like that. And it's easy for us to pick apart our own things. But from what I can see, it looks great, Robert. And Robert says, thanks, still more to paint, though. Yeah. And Robert's talking to Simone. Yeah. I watched that video, too, on the TC that she's working on. And that was one of my comments, was how different the vehicle, the frame and stuff is on the vehicles over in Europe. And that's an older vehicle, too, obviously. But just a completely different kind of design. Leonard, got my pumpkin going. Got your pumpkin, planted pumpkin, I assume? I hope. We're talking about gardening, so I'm assuming that's what you mean. Good. Jim Mannion, everything looks fuzzy. I think the batteries in my glasses died. Well, I don't think it's me. I don't think it's me. If I'm fuzzy, somebody else might notice. But I hope you got some get some new batteries in your glasses. What kind of glasses have batteries in them? I'm not sure what that is. Hook says thank you, Infernal. Rare Rat. I have been enjoying your 68 Camaro videos. Nice work. Thank you. You know, I had a comment that somebody made. I don't know who the guy was. I'm not worried about it. And it was it. You know, you think about some things once in a while, and I read every single comment that somebody makes. I try to at least give a thumbs up or a heart to every single comment, because you know, if you're taking the time to say something or communicate with me, I at least want to acknowledge that. Now, sometimes I do have the time to type a thank you or make a response. But this guy, I was a little confused. I mean, I understood where he was coming from, but his comment was about. He said, "I can't believe you did that," and I was like, "Can't believe I did what?" And his comment was about cutting up the rocker panel, essentially. And I get what he was saying, that overall, in a perfect world, structure wise, it would be better to change the entire rocker panel, to take the whole thing out, bust all the spot welds, and do all that sort of thing. And I understand that. I get it. But I think I covered it pretty well as to why I did what I did to that rocker panel. And I still stand by that. It makes sense to me. If you start destroying all the surrounding pieces to get a new piece in, now you have to deal with all the other pieces. And when you start breaking these spot welds out and just, it just doesn't make any sense. I'm really happy with my approach. And once it's welded and solid, it'll be good. It's not going to fall apart or anything. It's not going to fail. But he was talking about some sort of crash integrity test. He said, he talked about collision industry, and he said that would not pass a crash integrity test. And my thought was, what is a crash integrity test? Do they, after you fix it, do they go out and wreck the car to see if it failed or not? I mean, I don't understand how you're going to assess a repair unless you actually damage it. I don't know. Maybe I'm confused by the whole comment, but anyway, I posted a picture or a video on my Patreon, and I was talking about the bottom of the rocker panel, and when I cut it, I did the overlap. I stacked up the metal, and man, there's almost no gap in that rocker panel. And so I've just been, welding it back together and trying to get it, get it all completely welded back in, blended down. Then there's some other things that I need to do in the process before I start actually mounting the quarter panels and that sort of thing. But honestly, once I get the details taken care of on the side over there, it has to do with removing rust. And that may be what my next video might be, is the approach of that. Is trying to remove the rust in the rear of the car and different things, prepping the panels to get them, in place. So I was debating on what my video would be for this coming week, and that may be what my approach is: prepping everything before putting the panels on, because there's rhyme and reason to that. And I always say sequence is scored, so you want to make sure you take care of all that stuff underneath before you start putting on the outer pieces that cover up everything. Okay, let's see. Ray Buckman. Evening, Barry and all. Glad you're here, Ray. Looks great, Robert. Simone, Robert, the shock I removed is shot. Okay. Brian. Feel free, Robert. My brand new 80-gallon 5-horse compressor broke after the initial break-in run. Thankfully, I was not doing anything important. That's the thing. This new equipment. Now, Robert's has probably got some miles on it. But this new equipment, I have that new big compressor I put outside, and the cutoff switch failed less than a year in. Just failed. I had to replace it. So hopefully it continues to operate. I think I bought the extended warranty on it and everything. Or maybe I'll get lucky and it'll just die, and I can call them up and say, hey, get this thing out of here and bring me another one. So we'll see. Dave Conville, good evening. Glad you're here, Dave. Dave, I need to communicate with your partner. We need to find out more about a Mustang. Just saying. Just saying. Leonard, thumbs up. Yes, thank you, Leonard. Gary says hello to Rare Rat. Troy Justit. My compressor is getting ready to die. Time to replace it. What size of tank does the gang recommend for air tools and painting? Honestly, you can get by with an 80-gallon. You know, I went with a bigger compressor, the 120-gallon, and honestly, I could have went with the 80 and been fine. I didn't have to go that big. So 80-gallon is 5 horse. That's plenty, honestly. Leonard, the old saying is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, that is true. And Robert, crash integrity and safety was not in the design parameters of the cars back then. It was make it look good and function and get it made and out the door. That is a very valid point. That is a very valid point. I don't know what year they actually started doing crash testing, like legitimate crash testing. There's plenty of videos out over time where you've probably seen the one. They took a 59 Impala and they took like a 2010 Impala or something, crashed them both together, and of course the 59 just folded up like an accordion, and the new car just took it. It crushed, but the occupants would have been fine in the vehicle. And that is a very valid point. I didn't really think about that till just now, but these cars were not meant to be survivable, let's say. Granted, they did add things like collapsible steering column. They did add seat belts, but they don't have crush zones. They don't have impact zones. They did add later some bars to the door, inside the door skin, to try to give a little more strength in there. But yeah, there's really not much that makes sense as far as a collapsible zone. It's like modern, I say modern car, any car built probably in the 80s and up, maybe even some in the 70s, they put pre-kinked areas in the hood, right? So there's a little, you find like right where the hinge mounts, there's usually like a little triangle indent for the hood. And the idea is that if that car was to get hit, instead of the hood driving straight back into the occupants, that it would buckle and collapse. That's one of the few safety items that I can think of that was incorporated back probably in the 70s. Now, I don't know what time in the 70s. My mind's not drawing a distinct line somewhere. But if you take one of these, like this Camaro hood, there's nothing like that. Nothing at all like that. It's the way it is. In fact, you know what? Since we're talking about it, I'm going to send myself a picture, and then I'll upload it on here. Let me see if I can find this, because a friend of mine sent me this picture today, and I will get it up here. And it's a Camaro, and it's pretty painful to look at, honestly. Let me see if I can get this taken care of, because I have to jump through hoops to get stuff where I need it, so that I can there we go. Let's see if I can get this now. And this is a recent crash. A friend of mine, he sent me this picture today, and the comment he gave me was, "This happened yesterday." Okay. And I told him, send it to me. He asked me if I was ready for another one. But this is kind of painful. If I can get this uploaded here. Here we go. Ready? Look at that. Look at that. Now there's not a lot of safety stuff there. I don't know what the guy hit. Obviously, the roof is damaged. I can see wrinkles in the quarter panel whole front clip. I don't know the scenario, what happened, but yeah, there's no airbags in that car. There's no tricky seat belts, and modern cars, the seat belts. I don't know what year they started that. They have basically an explosive charge in them to where they lock, because you would have your seatbelts have an inertia bind in them. So if you get in an impact, like if you pull your seatbelt really fast, it'll lock up, and that's the inertia system in there that's causing it to lock, and then you can release it and pull again. Well, more modern stuff actually has an explosive charge in there, and the idea is if you were to roll the car and you had the seatbelt initially do its job and it's rolling, and then it released, and then it started coming forward, you could get tossed around. And so the idea was that they could explode the seatbelt and lock it on you, and that way you're not it becomes permanent. We had to deal with that a lot in the collision industry, because whenever we would work on these cars, we had to replace regular seatbelts. Had to pull them out if the car was salvageable. So okay, well, I had a picture sent to me. Anyway, so that was one of the things is the seatbelt function. Now these old cars didn't have that; they just had that inertia type of system in them that would temporarily keep it in place. So anyway, yeah, Dave, I'm asking about the field find. Yeah, I'd like to get some more info on that if I could. Jerry, good evening all Jerry from the Money Pit. I should say Jerry checking in from the Money Pit in Middle Tennessee. Glad you're here, Jerry. Brian, speaking of new things, in this era of poor quality, I am refurbishing all the factory parts on my Fairlane I can, even as the new ones would look better. Exactly right. Exactly right. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he was in his 50, I want to say it's a 55, it could be a 56 Chevy pickup truck. So 3100 series, whatever. Still had the 6-lug wheels on it. 350 automatic. Had a rack and pinion on it, though, which is different. I've never seen a rack and pinion on one of those trucks that still had the leaf springs. It had the straight axle under it, but had a rack and pinion on it. Anyway, he's had this truck for a period of time, and it looks really good from about 30 feet. Just be honest. He was asking me some questions. He said, hey, are you interested in doing some touch-up work to this truck? And I said, well, what do you got? And he said, it's showing a few bubbles. That's never a good sign. Don't ask me to look at your truck if he's got a few bubbles. So I went and looked at his truck. I said, man, this is a complete do-over. Don't start digging. There were bubbles above the drip rail, on the roof, on both sides. There were bubbles on the hood. There were bubbles on the bottom of the door. And then I started walking around the truck. And I was doing the knuckle test, where you should kind of hear that, right? Whenever you're doing that. But if you hear this, not good. That's all I heard. Both rocker panels, the bottom of the doors, the bottom of the fenders, the crown of the fenders where the headlight sits, and they, kind of bulbous. That's all I heard everywhere. And I said, my advice is either you just keep driving this truck and enjoy it the way it is, or you sell it, because you'll never get, you're gonna have to take the whole truck apart. And he commented, he said, well, the rockers are good and this is good. And I was like, not likely. And Then he said, well, you know, you can get new fenders for this. And I said, yeah, I know. Sorry. I said, yeah, I know. And they don't fit. So we're talking about refurbishing all the factory parts. Yes. If you remember, if those of you that followed along for a long time, back in 2000, maybe 12, somewhere around there, I was working on that 55 Chevy truck. I made it a big back window truck. It's a pretty cool project, honestly. Put new front fenders on it, and I had to pie cut or split the fenders at the top. And at this point, I don't remember if I made them wider or narrower. I honestly don't know because it's been so long ago. But I had to make them change shape to match the shape of the hood because they were just wrong. And it would have had a gap like that if I remember right. It was crazy. So just a lot of modifications. So definitely right on that, Brian. Try to salvage the original as much as you can. Robert, 60 gallon will do, but 80 is better. Mine is a 60 with an oversized pump. The old pump threw a rod. When a rod bolt fell out, it needs to be upgraded. But yeah. I mean, I prefer. I would be happy with an 80, honestly. Wally, I have a Campbell Housefilled 80 gallon 2-stage, and it never ran out of CFM for me while painting my car. Yeah, that's all you need. I know I overkilled it. I did. I know. Rare Rat says, hello, Gary. Hope you are doing well. And let's see. James, 1973, the first year for crash testing for collapsible bumper Corvettes. Mustang Camaro started with urethane bumpers with 5-mile-an-hour bumper standards. That is a very valid point, yes. And that's probably the same time they started doing the kinking hood, because I remember at the junkyard, we would go up there and we'd have a car that had been sitting for years, and you'd open up the hood, and the hinges would seize, and you'd go to shut the hood, and it would just fold over on itself, and you're like, oh, well, that's not good. So you ended up just having a scrap hood at that point. It wasn't even wrecked. Denny Alvey, good evening, Barry. Glad you're here. David Gless, as far as your rocker panel decision goes, for me, the older I get, the more wisdom I gain. Sometimes it makes more sense to do something that seems radical to someone else, then that makes a project better. Yeah, I agree. And, you know, it's just, you think about it, it's like, what am I going to destroy to make this work? And, as I pointed out, I probably pointed out in the video, I was going to have to modify the rocker anyway, because I already know it was going to be wider at the bottom. So I alleviated a couple things there. One, I didn't have to separate the spot welds on the bottom and then start over. I'd have to reset the flange, re-weld all the spot. It just doesn't make any sense. Oh, and here's another thing. And this is just an observation. I was watching a video from Mr. Fireman. So if you follow him, he's been working on, I don't know how long, if he's working on the same Camaro or if he's been working on different Camaros, I don't know. I know that whenever I was doing the black Camaro years ago, he was working on a Camaro. I don't know if it's the same one. But anyway, he brought up a pretty valid and interesting point. I was looking at his approach on, he was putting in rocker panels, and he was talking about the spot welds. And now this is just a trivial type of thing, but it may add some value to it. It may. Maybe just a little. But if you look at the pattern of a spot weld on a pinch weld, usually they're 2 to 3 inches, let's just say. And usually they're all at the same plane all the way across. And I don't know if he said he found this somewhere else or somebody else did it and he decided to copy it. What he was doing was putting in the spot welds in a stagger pattern. One up, one down, one up, one down, one up, one down. And the reasoning for him, and I can agree with it, is it creates a wider kind of, grip point. Now, granted, you've got a little bit of transition between them where it's, down and up, instead of up and down, if you know what I'm saying. Sort of the gaps vary. Now, I don't know, I doubt I would really go that far, but I understand where he's coming from with that. And will it add some strength? It might add a little bit of strength. But it's just something to think about. I never really considered that much before. Shane, I'm late, but here, got my sticker today. Thanks, Barry. You're welcome, Shane. Troy, I have a 5-horse, 80-gallon compressor, but it doesn't keep up with my air tools. That is why I asked. I was looking at 120-gallon tank with 10-horse motor. Thoughts? Well, that's a pretty, yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. If it suits your needs, go for it. And I don't know what kind of air tools, it's not keeping up with, but it should be keeping up with just about anything. Should be. Now, one person at a time, one tool at a time. And it's difficult to run multiple tools, different people trying to recycle them with any kind of compressor, unless it's a huge industrial type of compressor. But, I mean, if you're happy with a 120, 10 horse, that's plenty of oomph. That's plenty of oomph. Simone, my Cortina had static seat belts when new and a collapsible steering column. I changed the belts for pre-tensioner type. See, that's a good idea. Let's see. Robert says, Oakton Classic, my 66 will be getting 3-point seat belts. Yeah. Yep. Steve's Money Pit. I'm late, but thumbs up. Glad you're here, Steve. Dave says I'm on it. Okay, good. Leonard, my 73 Torino has a 3-point seatbelt. Yes. I think that I want to say it became standard in 73. I think it became standard in 73. Because if you look at like trucks, I know up to 72, it was weird because the 67 and 72 Chevy trucks, I know in particular, I don't know if they did in 67 or not, but probably the 70, maybe in 69, 70, 71, 72, they had a provision for a 3-point harness. There's actually a bolt hole up in the, by your ear on the post. And I never saw a truck with factory 3-point seatbelts in it. But in 73, I think it became mandatory. I think. It seemed like that was like the transition year for all that stuff, was 73. Simone, good idea, Robert. Yep, for the seatbelts. Gary, doing well, Nick. Waiting for a video on your 69. Okay. So we'll have to... I'm not sure which... I missed whatever Gary is. I don't know what his channel is. Shane, Honda of Japan in the 70s designed the front to push the engine and trans toward the ground on a head-on crash, so it didn't come into the driver's compartment. Everyone does it now. Yeah, that was a big selling point with the Saturn. If you remember the Saturns, they touted that they had designed it to where the engine would rotate down and go underneath the car, basically. But yeah, Honda was well ahead of the curve on a lot of that stuff. Thank you, Shane. Steve, Footage Factory. How are things over in Scotland? Hey, if you see my daughter over there, she's in Spain right now. If you're in that area, I know it's really close. It's only like probably a 10-minute drive. Say hi to her. Just wave. She's over there. She's over there right now doing a voluntary teacher thing. So she's helping kids learn English over in Spain. Pretty cool gig for her. Brian, I found my 60-gallon 2-stage would do the job, but with my DA, I would need to let it catch up every 4 to 5 minutes. My 80-gallon works much better. Yeah, 80 gallons is just about right for any of a home use type thing. Troy, thanks for all your help. My compressor is 25 years old. It may not be working right. As I said, it is starting to go out. Yeah. Douglas, hey Barry and Company, Basket Case Camaro is looking good. Thank you, Douglas. Weingarten, that's a good name. Okay, Gwen, Jarbo Toontastic, what is your favorite Mustang? Boy, that's a tough question. I really have, I like, given a choice, if I were to get one, if they said, which one do you want? I would take a 69 Mach 1. That's a car my dad had. It would have to be Acapulco blue with the stripes on it, black interior, Mach 1, 4-speed. It could be a 351 Windsor. It could be a Cleveland. I don't really care. I'd be happy with the Windsor motor. It doesn't matter to me. But I would prefer to have one of those. Now, with that said, The reality is, I really like the 68s. And I have to say, I really like the 68 coupe. I like the fastbacks. I like them. I do. But I really have a soft spot for the 68 coupe. Obviously, I have Jade, and I've grown attached to that car in a sense over time, seeing it come back together. So I really have a feel for those cars. Um, I like the 65 and 6, uh, but it would probably not be the first on my checklist. And the 67 is kind of a cross between the 6 and the 8. We know there's some issues with that car in as far as pieces and parts crossing over. 68 is when they started getting things really right, and I'd be pretty content with the 68 coupe. Now, again, 69 Mach 1, even a 70 Mach 1, I'd really like. The later version, 71, 72, 73, they're cool in their own sense, but they feel like they're just giant cars. You look at them and they feel like they're huge. So I guess the answer would be 69 Mach 1. Thank you. And my birthday is next month. So if you're looking for something to get for me, that'd be great. Mr. Cyrano, I'm listening, just being quiet. Okay, that's cool. Glad you're here. Ray Buckman, my 73 Camaro had only lap belts, but my Corvette had 3-point, so I was wondering when they made the change. And now your 73, I'm wondering if, he says Corvette is 74. Okay. Well, I think all that was being instituted, let's say, in that time period. So you might have had a 73 that was actually built in 72, possibly. I don't know what month and when they started really driving the nail in the coffin on those things, but it's very possible you could have that, an early production 73. All right. Jerry, two-stage air compressors generally slow on recovery. I have a 60-gallon single-stage and never run out of air. I also have a two-stage, and its recovery slows me down with air tools. Yeah. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I mean, my 120-gallon two-stage, for me, is fine. It holds up everything I'm running. I could sit here and run my my cutoff wheel, my 90 grinder, and just keep on running it. Now, the thing is going to run, but I don't lack pressure. It just stays there. And, I will stop every 10 minutes or so just to let it stop, get recharged and cool off a little bit. But I don't really run into any issues. Simone Barry, have you used lead loading for joining panels? Many older cars here use it for attaching the roof skin. What we see, I have not done lead. I have not used lead. Now, what we have seen here, particularly in the States, like this seam right here. Okay, under normal circumstances, this panel is welded, and the roof panel is also welded, and then they would fill the gap between it with lead. They wouldn't attach it with lead. So I don't know if you see that over there, like they use lead to actually attach panels. But just like in the Mustang, you've got a seam down here, roughly, where it's welded together, and then they would lead that seam to fill it in instead of using body filler. So that's what we see here in the States. I don't know if it's different over there or not, but that's a common thing. At least it was a common thing here. Then later on in the 70s, they started using some sort of, well, at least I remember on I know cars that had vinyl tops, they would put like a goo in that seam. They wouldn't put lead in. They put some other stuff in there. At least some of the ones I've seen. Bob, I'm late, but I'm here. I got busy work on Venus. You know how that goes. Hello, everybody. How is everyone doing tonight? Glad you're here, Bob. What about Bob? Good movie. Steve, I'm going to do a motor track day in Spain in a few months. In Spain, I've been racing bikes. Okay, that's cool. Hope that's going well for you. Troy, I have a couple of favorite Mustangs. I like the 65, 70, 99 to 04, and the current ones. That's good gripping. Yeah, I like the I don't know about the 99 to 04. I think I like the, what year was it? Whatever the bracket is for 2010. I like that one. But still, nothing wrong with those choices. Gwen, if you tend to have a 2011 Mustang or Camaro, you will paint it to look like a 50s or 60s Mustang or Camaro. Oh, if I were to have a 2011, would I paint it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, the new Camaro, what came out, what year? It was 2010 they came out. And it would be kind of cool to see those painted up in the old school colors. You know, the rally green and the yellow and the hugger orange and all that. That would be really cool. That's a great idea. And the Mustang, I know they did some like grabber blue. I don't know if they ever did the Acapulco blue or not. But that would look pretty sharp. I like the idea. Brian, I know you asked Barry, but if I had a choice, I love the 69 or 70 Shelby GT 500. Those are cool cars. Here's the thing though, and this is where I get caught up in the dynamics of it. Even with the 69 Mach 1, I would probably still just sit in the garage and stare at it. I mean, I would want to drive it occasionally, but a Shelby or a GT 500, I doubt I'm going to take it out of the garage. I mean, I'll just start it up every so often and sit in the garage and okay, that's it. Because anymore, something like that, I'm scared to take it out on the street. These people driving like fools out there, and they plow into that car. You're not going to replace it. That's the scary part. I love the looks of it though. I really do. They did a great job with that design. Brian, the GT500 because it got the 428 Cobra Jet. Okay, I'm okay with that. Jersey Mike, I had a 73 Mach 1 back in 75 when I was in high school. Okay. And they feel like big cars, don't they? I mean, like the back window is, like that's the slope on the back window, isn't it? You might as well just have a periscope sticking through the roof because I doubt you can see anything out of that back window. Shane, Eileen only came with front seat belts, 64, but I'm putting in rear seat belts, but just lap belts, though, to keep it fairly original. It's not a bad idea. Simone, if I could have an American car, it would have to be the Plymouth Hemi Cuda. I love that car. Well, as long as you're making a wish list, that's a great thing to have on a wish list. I like it. Mr. Cyrano, lead was used because it dried instantly and is shapeable. Valid point. Thank you. That is very valid because in a day, when these things were rolling through the production line, they needed them gone as fast as they could get them, and that makes perfect sense. Thank you for that. Robert, my 84 El Camino still had lead in the sail panel to roof seam. Yep. And Robert's telling Simone he'd love to have a convertible Hemi Cuda, but they cost more than a house today. They cost more than a couple houses today. Thomas, great shows, but I got to go. Thanks. Oh, great show, but I got to go. Thanks for all the advice and your wonderful videos on the Camaro. Looking awesome. We'll be in touch for more help on my 70 Mustang Coupe. Lola is her name. Thank you. Okay. Glad you're here, Thomas. Glad you're here. Harvey. Hello, Barry. Got here late after work. Better late than never. I'm glad you're here, Harvey. Glad you're here. Leonard, I'm removing all the trim and using lead to fill the holes and the rust repairs as much as I can. Okay. That's a good plan. Yeah, the process on the Camaro, one thing I need to get, and maybe somebody could throw an advice out here, some advice. Typically, I drill all the holes for my my welds. I just drill them all. But I've also looked at, I know when we had the body shop, we had a hole punch. The problem is, typically the ones you get now from like Harbor Freight or whatever are only 1/4 inch. I don't weld 1/4 inch holes. I do 5/16. And so I was looking up some of these hole punches, and I want to I want to come up with a 5/16 hole punch tool. So if anybody has any recommendations for one, I've looked at, there's several different companies out there that sell these things, but I don't want 1/4 inch. I've seen some that were like I've seen one that has it's like a pistol grip where it's got a extended piece, kind of like a rivet or like a air chisel. And then I've seen others where it's more like a grinder type, where it's just a straight body with the head up on top. And a lot of those would put in the you'd have a hole punch on one side and a flanging tool on the other. So I'm gonna have to I want to come up with something. So if anybody has any thoughts that one they like, let me know. Let's see. So Simone is asking Leonard, what car do you have? So I think he has a 73 Gran Torino. Brian, also lead expands and contracts as sheet metal, so less chance of cracking with a deep fill. That's a valid point. Doyle, question. Roof seam now, short strand or long strand or fiberglass mesh and filler. For what I normally do is short strand fiberglass. Once I've welded this thing, this is going to be welded solid. Short strand fiberglass is what I typically use, and then I go over that with my Rage, Evercoat Rage, and I haven't had any problems with it. Now, there may be other approaches. People want to put lead back in these things, and they can. I just have never used lead. I'm not trained in it, so just not comfortable with it. Gwenjar. And the radios that came with the 10 to 15 Camaros are like those blue display screens with 16 buttons to control radio presets, change modes, and access settings. They were available in other settings, other Chevys. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, the whole touchscreen thing is becoming pretty popular with just about everything now, if that's what we're referring to. Steve, hello all. Finally warm outside and got distracted. That's okay. That's okay. Glad you're here. Leonard, 73 Gran Torino Sport. There we go. And Gwen says like the 10 to 15 Equinox Cruise Traverse, just to name a few. Okay. Now I know we were talking about painting the cars. I'm not sure how we got on the subject of the radios, but they did have some cool stuff in them. You're right. Simone, the Gran Torino is beautiful. Okay. Dave, this past weekend I spotted a Smoky Unique Tribute 68 Camaro right here in town, black and gold, 13 in a white circle on the door, and vintage Halibrands. Couldn't get a pic though, moving too fast. Get a pic of that. Maybe that's what I should do with this, right? Make a Smoky Tribute. Oh yeah. No, probably not going to happen, but I would love it. Smoky Unique was a genius. He was a genius. Dale, a little cloudy here in Texas. I rebuilt my first transmission, a C4. I enjoyed it a little too much. It's a distraction, delaying getting to the metalwork. Thanks for the inspiration. Yeah, sometimes you need delays like that. Change direction once in a while. Gives you a fresh look in where you're coming back to. Get back on course. Robert, might end up with a Roper Whitney hand punch, as most of the air ones are small 3/16 holes. Yeah, I don't do 3/16. Don't do quarter. It's got to be 5/16. The only way I would do it, I could do a quarter, but I'd have to drill it a second time to get it to 5/16 because I don't do 1/4 inch. Shane, how many classic muscle cars were laying around in your dad's junkyard? Junkyard story time. Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Let's go to Junkyard story time. Since you asked, and the question is, how many classic muscle cars were laying around in your dad's junkyard? Too many to count. Okay, all done. I was thinking about that because when growing up until I was 18 years old, which was 85. And that's when I left and went in the military and stuff like that. So all of my memories are focused on that time period of those cars. Of course, my dad's 69 Mach 1 was up there, which he sold. There was a 70 Mach 1 up there that was a bright yellow 70 Mach 1. There were several others. I remember Olds 442s, the 66 Olds Cutlass convertibles. I remember seeing those cars up there with V8s and 4-speeds in them. I remember seeing 65 Impalas, 66 Impalas. There was a cool, some sort of Javelin. I think it was I've talked about this before. I think it was a Mark Donahue or Donahoe. They had a tribute for him, like a black and gold special edition Javelin. There was one of those up there. There was a variety of Studebaker that were, you could say, muscle cars. They had superchargers on them and stuff like that. Dodges, there were Coronet 500s in there. There was some Roadrunners. I think there was at least one Super B. Then there was Leonard would like this, probably the Gran Torino comes to mind, but there were some Gran Torinos up there. There was a Mercury Montego, some GT or something. I don't remember what the coding number was on it. It was a pretty cool car. There was all kinds of different things. Now there were some plain Jane Mustangs up there too. There was coupes. There was the only Mustangs we ever had. We never had anything from 65 to 66. Or 68. Never anything from 65 to 68. There were no Camaros. We never had a Camaro that I could remember in a junkyard. We had some cool looking T-Birds, the 58, 59, 64. There was Chevelles up there. There was a 68 Chevelle. It was a Concours car, Concours. Had a 327 and a 4-speed in it. There were some 66 and 67 Chevelles up there. There was a bunch of Corvairs. My dad was into Corvairs for some reason. Big Chryslers with 440s in them. There was all kinds of stuff. So, but, probably true muscle cars would be the Mach 1s that stood out. And then, a friend of ours actually had a 61. It ended up in the junkyard. 61 Impala SS it was a 4-speed car and had 409 with 3 deuces on it or something, some crazy configuration that he had. That was it was red and white, but the thing rusted into the ground. So, anyway. I think that's about it for that sort of thing. Now there was a variety of other stuff that, where it was created, putting different engines in different cars and stuff. But I would say that's probably it for muscle car stuff. So, good question. Mr. Cyrano says TP Tools in Boardman, Ohio. Okay, I'll have to check them out. Harvey, for those pushing the smaller compressors hard, a small fan aimed at the compressor head will help keep it cool and extend the service life. That's a good point. I need some coffee. Hold on just a second. Okay. Thank you, Wally. Thank you, Harvey. Jerry, I just bought a Harbor Freight hole puncher and it was 3/16. I'll drill out the 3/16 to 5/16. Yep. Troy, I drill my holes also. Thought about a punch, but is it really worth it? Drilling doesn't take that long. It doesn't, but I have to look at it from my side of things where I'm not doing this for one car. I plan to keep on doing sheet metal stuff. And so the cost can be anywhere from $40 to $140 or $200, whatever. So I'll probably get one regardless. Brian, there's also aluminum impregnated filler for those seams. That is true. Valid point. Thank you, Brian. Doyle, I have the flange punch tool from Harbor Freight. I use the punch for the pilot hole, then drill to 5/16. That's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Michael, when I worked at Tasca Ford, Bob Tasca had two 69 GT350 and GT500 he owned. Not for sale in the showroom that had less than 100 miles on both. GT350 was yellow and the GT500 was green. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Doyle, weld a seam solid first, then filler? Yeah, I mean, you can look at it a couple different ways. I'm going to end up putting spot welds underneath this before I put the roof on. And then I'll probably, because of this is an aftermarket roof, I'm probably going to weld the whole edge of that roof to this panel. So this will get spot welds up here to hold it in place. And then the roof panel will sit on top, and I'll weld that edge and then fill the gap between. There's variations on each car. So in this case, on the Camaro, that's what I'll be doing. Because I know in the Mustangs, you've got a wider trough. And I wouldn't recommend welding that whole thing. It's not necessary. Wally, be careful not to use aluminum oxide sandpaper on lead seam. It causes a reaction in the lead acid due to dissimilar metals. Do research on this or bite you later after paint. Interesting. Thank you, Wally. Typically what I do is I remove all the lead. If I've got some lead in there, I'll take the torch and heat it up and just let it all run out and just eliminate it. Just eliminate it. Kevin, Eastwood for the hole punch can punch up to 7/16 holes. That's pretty good. All right, thank you for that. Leonard says, Robert, have you ever been to the CTC Auto Salvage Yard? Gwen, some 10 to 15 Camaros come with a radio that is touchscreen without navigation and replaced with a play pause button, a configuration button, a tone button, and a back button. Okay. Robert's talking to Leonard. They are pricey, but have a nice yard full of cars and an eighth mile strip. Might be a quarter mile. I don't remember. It's not too far away. Okay. Gwen, but it had Bluetooth also. Yeah, that is an advantage. The Bluetooth. Leonard, so it is Desert Valley Auto Salvage in Phoenix. I'm not. Is that a question? I'm not familiar with Desert Valley. Terry says, Barry, did your dad have any 30 to 40s Fords or Chevys? Yep. Yep, there was a bunch of that stuff up there. I say a bunch. I mean, I can remember those cars. I can't say a specific year, I know there was at least one 39 Chevy up there. There was some 30, probably 38. Because we all know that there wasn't any production from 41 to 45 or whatever, 46, somewhere in that range. But yeah, there were several of those up there. Were they in good shape? Probably not. Most of the stuff up in the Pennsylvania Rust Belt didn't hold up very well over time. I do know there was a 40 Studebaker Champion up there. I think it's still there, actually. I think it's still there. But I can't. I remember some Plymouths. Gosh, it's really hard to narrow those down as much. Because, when I was younger, those cars were not quite as interesting to me as the other stuff. So, But there was stuff up there like that. Mr. Cyrano, has anyone converted their classic AM radio into an FM radio? I have a 71 Mach 1. I don't have an answer for that. So I know there's people that make a knockoff style radio that looks like the original. But I don't know what the answer is on that one. Brian, I bought a 80-pound pressure pot and sandblaster from Eastwood 2 years ago. I just started using it and get great results. Very happy. Just FYI. Okay. Well, that's something I was going to talk about too. You could probably just see it over there. I've got the Harbor Freight. It's I don't know how many, if 80 pound. I'm not sure what that means exactly. Like, is it? I don't know if I don't think about cubic feet. You know what I mean? Like the compressor has, or gallon. Because 80 pound pressure pot. Okay, because I have a pressure pot over there, sitting next to the sandblaster, and I'm going to be using that on the Camaro. Okay. I'm going to send Robert an invite. So it's on the way, Robert. But yeah, I bought some Black Diamond media that I'm going to be using on the Camaro. I think it's 40 to 60 grit. Oh, Leonard says I was telling Robert that DVA is pricey. Okay. Jersey Mike, where was... Oh, the salvage yard's gone, but it was up in Pennsylvania. Yeah, all that stuff's gone. It's all gone. And Brian says, hold 80 pounds of media. Okay, well, that's probably similar to the pot that I have over there then. Similar in size. So, I'll be using one of those. And like I said, that may be my next video, is getting that thing back up and running and using it to clean up parts of the car. So, we'll see how that goes. There's Robert. Let's see what Robert has to say tonight. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Yep. I have the same pressure pot as you do.
That Harbor Freight?
Yeah, and actually, I think that's the second one of that size I've got, and then actually over there I've got one of the little bitty ones too. It's the same kind of thing, the baby one. I've kind of modified mine a little bit. You know where the tube comes out the bottom? There's that little pipe. Yep. I actually, on the top of it, I chamfered it out a little bit.
Makes sense.
It kind of made like a little more of a funnel. I've kind of toyed with the idea of putting a tube where it actually kind of sticks up a little bit, and so it's not sucking off the bottom. That way, when you have stuff that is not going to go through, it'll just sit down around the bottom. I don't know. I've thought about just trying some different things to see if something,
Yeah, I could see that.
But this last one that I've got, because like I said, I had one before it, and I got rid of it a long time ago. I bought this one at the sidewalk sale, and it was like, man, it looks brand new. So it's a Harbor Freight sidewalk sale. Go in there, it's like, you guys want? And I forget what the price was on it, but it was this Sunday morning, so it was half price of the sticker price.
Yeah.
So I think it was like $40.
Yeah.
Or I think it was $42. And come to find out, I know why it got returned, because the guy put baking soda in it, and it was clumped up around the bottom of it, and I thought I had it all out. So when I was blasting on the car here at one point, I got to the point, it's like, hey, it is not feeding. So I took it all back apart again, and then I stuck a wire up in there, and all of a sudden I see more baking soda just pouring out of the thing. Instead of buying a soda blaster,
Yeah.
They tried that, but I said, but I've got, and now I have the dead man valve on the end of mine, not the one with the little valve. But I took the dead man part off of mine. There's it has that big lever in the spring you have to squeeze. Well, I took that off. It was hurting my hand too much to hold it.
I'm listening.
Well, I'm sitting there holding that thing. It's just like I'm sitting there blasting. It's like, okay, my hands are starting to get sore and starting to hurt. So I pulled the pin out, took that thing off. So I just reached down, hit the valve, open it up. I just deal with it, kind of blowing dust around until I get it going.
Yeah, mine has the rotating handle, the actual
Yeah,
shut-off valve.
that that's what this one had too, because they eventually changed them and started selling them with that dead man valve on it.
Yeah,
But I had one from before, so I just put mine on there.
yeah,
If I had another 3/8 valve, I would have actually put a 3/8 valve before it. But I burned up so many of them just doing that because you'll want to throttle it sometimes,
yeah.
and it just it's going to eat it up.
That's true.
It's just going to eat it up. Um, but what I do want to redo the piece at the bottom. There's there's the big the big cylinder piece that is all put together, and actually just put a pipe coming down and a T and make it less restrictive. Um,
Yeah,
if I use it more, that's the other thing. It's been working fine now, so it's kind of like, don't want to mess with it.
let's see here. Hold on a second. Let me get caught up. Okay, so Brian says it holds 80 pounds of media. Okay.
Mhm.
Jerry, I converted my 66 to replica of the original radio from CJ Pony. I'm not excited about the radio. It works great, but I would go a different radio. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rick, glad to be here tonight, but I'm a bit preoccupied. A lot of stuff going on. Hope everybody's doing okay. Glad you're here, Rick. Gwen says some Camaros have a hard drive so you can save music from CD, USB, or iPod. Interesting. Ray, what are you using for media since the old sand is illegal and hazardous? Old sand, yeah.
Yeah. I use crushed glass usually, which is just ground up glass.
Yeah.
And then I know in your blasting cabinet you had the coal slag,
Yes.
and I've used that before, and I got a bucket full of it over here. It cuts really well. That coal slag cuts really well. The crushed glass doesn't cut quite as well, but it seems to leave less. It seems to be just a nicer material to use, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
I don't know why it just seems to be, even though it doesn't cut as fast.
Yeah, Mr. Shearner says Black Magic from Tractor Supply works great, and that's exactly what I
Hmm.
have. I
Yeah,
have
and
two
that's
bags
that.
of it over there on the floor. They were $10 a bag.
Yeah, and that's coal slag, and I've still got 4 bags of crushed glass over here I didn't use. I'm still using the other stuff I had. I thought I was going to need more, but I didn't even use the extra 4 that I bought.
Oh, well, that's a good sign because you need to keep that.
Yeah, for the next project.
Simone says, good night, Barry, Robert, and chat. See you again soon. Okay. Thank you,
All
Simone.
right.
Glad you're
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching her car because just I'm I was looking at the rotor, and, the rotor's here, and it's got that hub that sticks way out, and then the wheel flanges out here, and just the differences in things,
I was looking at the
and
frame.
and a rack and pinion,
Yeah.
yeah, and a rack and pinion of that vintage,
And
yeah,
that was what, 70 or something?
74,
Yeah, I don't
something like
remember.
that in that range.
But
But MGs and stuff had them, in other cars, but
yeah,
over there, but. We liked our
yeah,
big heavy steering boxes and stuff like that.
yeah. Uh, okay, Ray says Black Magic is that aluminum oxide. No, it's actually coal slag from
And
what it
and in
says
some
on the
and in some
package.
parts of the country, you can get copper slag, which is supposed to work just as well. I think it's just one of those whatever's the cheapest where you are.
Um, okay, so Gwen says got to go. All right, glad you were here. Doyle, where do you get your media for the blaster? Okay, Tractor Supply.
Hmm.
And Mr. Cyrano says, sorry, Black Diamond, not Black Magic. And that would, I'm pretty sure that he's right on that.
Hmm. Well, it's also sold as Black Beauty in
Yeah,
some
Black
places.
Diamond is what I have. That's from
Yeah,
Tractor
and
Supply.
I've seen Black Diamond, Black Beauty, a number of different similar names, and it's
Yeah,
all the same stuff. I get my crushed glass from Northern Tool.
yeah,
I haven't found a local supplier to just like go buy a big sack of it. You know,
right.
I know they're here. I just when you go searching for that as a supply, for supply, you don't come up with anything.
Yeah,
I don't. It's just like I'm looking media blasting. It's like, well, nothing shows up. So it's one of those you have to know where to go to buy it.
okay. Well, I know that you went out of your way to put plastic up and like secure the area when you were blasting. Did that pay off or not?
It'll hold in a lot of it. It holds in a lot of the bigger stuff, so it doesn't make quite. I mean, you're still going to have some,
Now, did
especially
you?
since I didn't go to the ceiling.
Okay, did you recycle material?
I do, yeah, and I've got my buckets of it are over here, and I showed you that little sifter I've got that I made a while back. Um, I'll recycle it to a point, but I will say what I like to do. Um, Say it's like if I'm blasting something, if I'm blasting with recycled media, I'll go over it. Then I'll put fresh media in the blaster and do a really quick once over. Because remember, when you recycle it, you're blowing the crap back on the car that you just took off the car. So you might have some tar or grease or
Yeah, that's
trash
possible.
in it
Yeah,
when you're doing it. It's possible, and it's one less thing you don't have to worry about. Well, you don't have to worry about cleaning it in the next
right.
step as much. You don't have to worry about, well, I got to use more, chemicals to clean it off because
Yeah.
you just don't have it there.
See, I think in my mind, like if I'm doing an exterior panel, like a quarter panel, and if I were to blast it, which I probably wouldn't, but
No, me
if I were
either.
to blast it, I would probably still follow it up with 80 grit on the DA
Hmm.
and just make sure everything is smooth, got a good
Hmm.
texture to it, and then go from there. But like this car here, I've got to get underneath where I can't see it right now, but there's the mount point for the hinge.
Hmm.
So it's got this complex shape that is full of rusty metal,
Yeah.
and you can't wire brush it. You're not going to just you know.
Yeah.
Now, is it worth it? Well, to me, it is because it's exposed right now.
Hmm.
If you were just working on the car, you wouldn't even look at that panel or that piece. You
Exactly.
wouldn't even. You just like, well, it's just there. I'm not going to worry about it. But I'm here, so I'm going to go ahead and blast this
It,
stuff.
exactly. That's like when I had the quarters off of the Mustang. And so, normally you'd never have access to that metal in there to do anything. So it was like, well, I'm here. It's open. Let me go ahead and, I'll clean it off and prime it and, put epoxy on it and call it done.
Yeah.
You know, is it
Uh,
really needed? No, because nobody else does it when they restore a car. I mean, there's so many things I've done that are just overkill, to be honest. And
yeah.
because again, the way we're going to be treating these cars is, you could almost leave it bare steel and just go and drive it in bare steel.
Yeah. I
Honestly,
mean, that's the reality.
yeah,
I mean,
it's
I
not.
mentioned that before because people are concerned about, well, should I do this or do that or do that? Well, anything you do is an improvement over what they did
Hmm.
back then because they didn't do anything. You
Hmm.
know.
Yeah, and it's like it's well, talk about rain and stuff like that. Well, it doesn't rain here very often, and if it's going to rain, it's very unlikely the car's going to be out driving around in it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the biggest thing would be washing it. It would be getting more
I
wet
don't even
washing it.
wash them.
Well, you don't
I
have West Texas dirt.
well, no, the car's not going to be outside. First of all,
Yeah,
okay. So anything that's on the car is just dust for inside here,
yeah.
and I use McGuire's One Touch,
Hmm.
wipe it down, and I'm done.
Well, it's like, but now here we have the problem is you can wash your car, make it really nice, put it out in the driveway, and then an hour or two later, it's covered in dirt
Yeah.
because we get all the dirt from West Texas that just constantly blows in, and it's just,
Yeah.
front comes through and everything's covered in dirt.
Jerry's saying crushed glass leaves a more smooth finish. I
Yeah,
can't argue that.
and also with that the coal slag when you're talking about going with the 80 grit afterwards, the other thing that makes that better is if you the the texture that you leave from that coal slag is pretty rough. And if you
Okay.
start to wipe it down with any towels or anything, you're just going to end up with lint all over the place because you've got all those little sharp edges that are going to catch your whatever you're
So
using to wipe it down with.
so really, 180 would be a better probably approach.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
something, sand it with
It's,
something to
it's
get it all.
something.
Yeah.
Anything to knock those points down, so
Right.
you're not, because you don't want to leave lint behind.
Right. Mr. Sure, no, I did a 76 Trans Am shaker hood and it came out gorgeous with the black magic. Okay.
Mm.
I trust you on that. Jerry says, I guess I'm lucky I have a major manufacturer of blasting material about 5 miles from where I live. So I call my sales rep and they have it ready and they load it for me. That's even
Nice.
better.
I mean, I would use garnet if I could get it at a reasonable price. I like garnet. It cuts really well, and it's not terribly expensive. And you just use it, and don't even try to reuse it because it really is hard to reuse. It's one of those that it's gone once you use it
Yeah.
one time.
Aaron, anything worth doing is worth overdoing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had another expression we used to use in the body shop. Never time to do it right, but there's always time to do it twice.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned that to a friend today or the other day about that. He was working on something and he's like, I got to get this done, but I don't have time. And I said, you got to make time because
Mm-hmm.
if not, you're doing it again. And what are you gaining, you know?
Yeah.
So, Mr. Cyrano, when I sandblast, I'll lay it down and recycle the sand. Probably over 9 times when it's in the 5 gallon bucket. It looks like water. That's when it works really awesome, like soda blasting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And Jerry says Garnett is what I use.
Yeah.
Now I don't even know what
Yeah. I just
I've never. Where do
it's
you get that
well,
stuff?
it's a gem technically, but it's
Right.
just tiny little pieces of it, and uh, you can buy it in the sacks like for your blasting cabinet. Um, it works really well. It's just I don't know of a local supplier to get it from. And the crushed glass, I was buying that at like $8 a bag, and
Yeah.
for what I need, it's fine, you know. And then with Northern, I get the coupons, so you get 5-10 bucks off, and you know it's
That's
really not a bad deal, you know. By the time you get it on sale and use coupons, and um,
so. What now that I'm confused by the. I mean, I know Garnett is a gem. What is it used for?
I don't remember offhand.
Now I'm curious
'Cause-
because
yeah,
if it's used as a gem, um, and it would have to
it,
be in bulk use
yeah. Well, it's yeah, and it's
to have leftover material.
yeah, and it's the tiny little pieces that aren't, and I don't, and it's somebody will have to look it up
Well,
because
I'm
I
looking
can't
at
remember
like you,
anymore.
you can get a garnet ring,
Yeah,
as jewelry. Um,
but it's much bigger. Yeah,
yeah, but I'm thinking how much how much stuff is being pulled out of the earth to make jewelry that we have left over
yeah.
for
Well,
media blasting.
that's kind of like, okay, well, titanium. Okay, we look at titanium metal, and it's like, well, any gallon of paint that we buy is full of titanium. It's full of titanium dioxide, which is the rust of titanium. That's what makes the white in the pigment is the titanium.
Hmm.
So it's I think about that. It's like the amount of paint that we produce in this planet, and it's all made of that titanium dioxide that's in it. It's like that's that's a lot of that stuff running around, you
Yeah,
know. And then the
I guess I
aluminum
never really thought
oxide,
about the titanium.
yeah, because the aluminum oxide is the same thing. That's aluminum rust essentially. And I believe a lot of that comes out of Australia. I believe.
We don't
I
have
can't
anybody.
remember.
We don't have anybody from Australia here tonight that can tell us that. So
No. Oh, okay. The story on the air compressor on
yeah,
the painting today. Okay. I get all set up, and for some reason, I only mixed up 1 cup of paint. Okay. So I was like, I got the stuff out to mix up more than one, but there was something in the back of my mind that just said, just mix one up. Okay. So I just mixed one up. Okay. I go over and I start painting, and I'll back up because when I did the primer, I had an issue with I use a separate air compressor outside the shop and an air hose off of that. It's an oilless air compressor, and I have for my face mask, I've got a fresh air supply for that. So I'm pulling fresh air from outside. It blows in my face. I've got nice clean air. Works great. Well, at a certain point, I was priming, and you're going fine, all is fine. Somebody comes by the door. Yeah, Jerry comes out, and all of a sudden, the mask is going, as I breathe. Okay, and come to find out, the compressor shut off. So she was over there by it, and I said, "Here, turn it off and on a couple times." The pressure switch on it, and it kicked right back on, ran just fine. Okay. A little while later, my big compressor did that one time, and I figured, oh, it's just a fluke. It's a fluke. And because it's all a mechanical one. And it's like, okay, maybe I bumped it or something because I had a hose over there. Well, so today I start painting, and I'm painting. It's like, for one, I was like, man, this stuff is really kind of thick. It's like, some idiot didn't put enough reducer in it. So it was a little thick, and I was like, I can't remember having the spray gun that close to what I've been doing in a long time. But I was doing the underside of the car, and you know what? It didn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm not looking for a finish here because again, it's going to get some undercoating on top of that as well. So a rough finish is a benefit, to be honest. Okay. Well, I'm going along, and it's like all of a sudden, man, that spray pattern's getting a little narrow all of a sudden. And I listen. It's like the compressor's not running. I go over there, and the lever is just like a hair off, and I just go and I just tap it, and it clicks back into place. It starts running again. It's doing fine, and then after it shuts off, it does it again. And so it's like at the point at the end of that one container, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not gonna mess with it. I'll get a new switch. I'll paint the rest of it because the rest of it I need a nice finish on.
Yeah.
So, there was something telling me to only mix up one container of paint.
Yeah.
That worked out just fine. So,
Time for an upgrade.
yeah, and that compressor is one that I think I've had. It's from 92 or so. I think it's at 92, 94 on the tank. So
Yeah.
it's time. The tank is getting aged, and you don't know how much rust is in there, even when you drain it. So it's really time to be upgraded. And I had put a bigger pump on it. It wasn't the pump I wanted because what I wanted was a really big pump. And then people are going to say, well, why do you want a really big pump on there? Well, you can slow it down. You change the gear ratio on it on the belts. You slow the pump down. It's a lot quieter. So you're still getting the output that you would out of the little pump, but you've got a big pump. It spins slower, it lasts longer, and it doesn't make as much noise. It doesn't create as much heat either.
That makes sense.
So, but they just when I got that replacement, it was like we don't have it, so and I had to have one. So you know how that goes.
Denny, we have garnet sand here. It is mortar sand and is graded and dried at the local concrete plant.
Hmm.
Interesting. So it's garnet it's a sand. Maybe we're thinking of it as a gemstone, but it may
maybe like the. I'm gonna have to do some research on that because I can't. I knew it one time, but I don't remember.
Yeah. Cool store. We use garnet in New Zealand. It's imported from Australia. They have mountains of it, literally.
Australia's got a lot of
Thank you for that.
natural resources. They really do when it comes to rocks and gold and you name it. A lot of aluminum comes out of there.
Zirconium. Chrysanthemum. Come up with some crazy molybdenum. All these great big words.
Yeah.
Chrysanthemum is not a mineral. I know that.
Well, might as well be. Most people wouldn't know the difference anymore.
No. Gene is here. Says hi, all. Glad to hear Gene. So, what did you spray on the bottom of the Mustang?
That was just an acrylic enamel. A single stage paint.
Okay, but you put primer on first, right?
Yeah, it's epoxy primer and then just the acrylic enamel. And realistically, I could put the epoxy on there and then just do a bed liner, spray on bed liner on top of there. But I still like that extra layer.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Even though I don't really need it, but
So, what was the what kind of epoxy were you using?
Kirker. Actually, it's sitting right here. I believe, to be honest, it is the same stuff as the Summit stuff.
Okay.
Is this stuff here? And this is the same stuff. No, not the same gallon, but the same brand, the same type of stuff that I used on my El Camino 15, 16, 17, something, whatever years ago. And other than the fact that the car is sitting and has two flat tires and sitting crooked at my parents' house, and I don't have anywhere to put it here, really. The primer's held up well. The top coat, not so much, but the primer held up beautifully. So, no complaints on that.
So, I know on the stuff I was using, you have a typical recoat window of 4 days.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what that is?
Yep. Yeah. It's the same. Yeah.
So, and then you put an acrylic paint, you said?
Yeah. Single stage paint. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, from the picture, if I pull that up, it looks like it's got some sheen to it. It
is what I used as a I forget if it's a it's about a 60% gloss. It's not a
Okay.
gloss. It's about a 60% gloss. Um, and then the hardener I used is a non-gloss hardener. The lowest gloss hardener that you can use for it. I do have some hardener that'll make it really shiny, but that's not what I wanted.
No.
I wanted it to. It doesn't have a nice. It doesn't have. It's a little shinier than what you have on Jade. It will have a little more shine than that. But it's like it's good enough that where it's like I'm gonna do. I'll do the dash and the A pillars with it. It's
Okay.
it's close enough. It'll be fine for that too. So I'm just gonna do everything. The nose, the underside, some of the inside on the floor. When I get that, it's like you just yeah use it in there, and then I'll do the dashboard and the A pillars with it as well. So I got to remember you have to paint the A pillars on these.
Yes. I actually had forgotten about that when I did the Mystique Mustang.
Oh,
But he wanted the interior color painted on that, which was a
hmm
blue, a light medium blue. And I just completely forgot, and I was like, and he did it was rattle can. You could buy it in a rattle can color.
yeah.
Um, so he took care of that. But I was like, oh man, I thought there was like a pad or something that went there, or a trim
Yeah,
piece.
because it stops at the little clip at the headliner at the top, just down from
Yep.
the headliner a little bit. Which I have one of those clips. I don't have the other.
Um, Betty says, "Bye, Robert. I want a Joe Daddy's T-shirt with a cat on it. Would like to see pics of your wife's cats."
uh, Actually, with if you're talking about our cats, its daughter brought them all home.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and
I don't.
speaking of your T-shirt, okay, this weekend for anybody in Texas, this is the Tate Swap Meet. I will be wearing Barry's shirt, and if I can still find it, I will bring one of Barry's stickers with me. So if anybody finds me there, I will give you one of his stickers because
That sounds like a deal.
I'm too lazy and I don't know how to design my own little icon thing. That's why mine is just blank, and I don't know I don't know how to do that stuff. So
Hmm.
one of these days I'll come up with something.
Well, and just to show you that, like this is Ken's small engine repair, and I know that's just basic, you know,
Hmm.
basic type of things. And then Simone, she has her own
Yeah.
um, little design. I know mine is a bit more complicated. I paid somebody to make that for me, um, but there's people out there that can help
Yeah.
you with doing that
Well,
sort of thing.
when she was doing the what's the game thing, Twitch, when she was doing she was, oh yeah, yeah, the oldest streamer on Twitch kind of thing, you know, and she was making money off of it. She was making money off of it streaming on Twitch,
Okay.
uh, sometimes like a couple $100 a month.
Yeah.
Just and she plays games anyway when she's home.
Right.
And she had somebody. They have these little, I don't know, emoji things that in Twitch. Then if you're subscribed to them and you donate something, you get these emojis you can use in other things. And she had somebody design that stuff up for her. And you know, I guess they look good. I don't know. It didn't.
I
I couldn't care less, to be
I don't
honest.
know either. Um, I know that Grease Rookie Andrew helped me with some T-shirt designs,
Hmm.
um, and I probably should come up with some more different designs. I wouldn't mind having something, basket case Camaro, and just have a pile of parts sitting,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. But I just I have T-shirts available on Teespring, or as it's called now, Spring.
Hmm.
Um, that's kind of hit and miss.
Hmm.
Sometimes people are interested, sometimes they're not. But
Yeah. Yeah. But I'll be there Friday. So if anybody's here and they're there out at Pate Friday, look for me. Generally, though, we're gone by 1 o'clock or so because we'll get
yeah,
there early, and then 1 o'clock is like, okay, we're going to Giant Burger. Uh, yeah, it's a big burger. Yeah,
okay,
it's a burger. I'll send pictures.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's yeah, that sounds appealing. It's funny you mentioned that though. I'll try to show this picture because our daughter, as I said, is in Spain.
Oh, yeah, yes. Now, can she find me a really cheap place to go stay at? Because I could just get on a plane and go out there. It's not hard
Well,
to get
she's with
there.
a host family,
Yeah.
because she's teaching.
Hmm.
They took her to eat, and this was the burger that they had.
Oh, that's
I
fancy.
don't know what the place was. And then she peeled it up a little bit there, and there's some sort of square looking cheese on it and
Uh
grilled
huh.
onions. I was like, yes, yes,
There, there's a place in Athens. Athens, as in Athens, Greece.
yeah.
There's a burger place. You can order one of these, contest burgers. It's I'll have to find pictures of it to send you. It's huge,
I've seen stuff like that.
and it looks really good, but it's enough to feed a dozen people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're not
Yeah,
gonna eat all that.
Spain is on my place a list, list of places to go. But it's kind of like we like going to Greece, so that's just yeah. I'll have to go on my own kind of thing.
Well,
If
I
I'm gonna go
know
to
that
Spain.
the host family she's with is taking good care of her. She sent some video where they were doing the running of the bulls somewhere in their town that she's at,
Oh, that's cool.
and then there's pictures, there's mountains somewhere in the background. She's showing pictures of the mountains and whatever. But they took her to Madrid where she was on they have a mall with an indoor ski slope.
I know there's one in Dubai, but I didn't know there
It's
was
not
one in Spain.
no, it's not
Yeah,
huge. It's a
yeah,
small scale
but
thing.
still, yeah.
But still, they took her to this place. It was pretty cool.
Okay, here's a picture of probably this would have been last year.
Okay,
Yeah, and
that looks good.
it's a little guy that's started it, and it's in the side of the gas station. Really good burgers.
Yeah. Aaron says here everything is bigger in Texas must also apply to the burgers. Yeah.
Sometimes.
And then that picture, I guess the picture I showed is how would you unhinge your jaw to eat that burger?
Well, okay. That one the one I just showed you, and,
Yeah.
and it's funny when you go in there and you're sitting and eating and you see somebody new come in that's never been there, and they're standing up there to order, and they order a double, and it's like, yeah, you never been here before, have you?
Yeah.
Because yeah, I mean, a single's a huge burger. A
Yeah.
double is just massive. I mean, to be honest, it's probably more than a half-pound burger.
Ooh.
And normally we really should just get it once, cut it in half and split it. You know?
Yeah. Shane says we used to refer to the triple whopper Burger King as a half cow. It was a lot of burger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go, Gene. It is normal to have a lot of binding of spindle ball joints when installing all new suspension, including springs on a 6.6 coupe with no weight in the car. Well, with no weight in the car, yeah, you're going to have some issues there
Yeah.
because
It's gonna.
the springs are pushing everything up. Everything's at its limit, essentially
Hmm.
going down away from the car. So yeah, I would say you're going to have some definite issues until you get the weight of the engine, transmission, all
Hmm.
those components that add mass. It's going to sit weird and do weird things.
Yeah,
So,
let's
yeah,
sit as high as it can, basically.
right. Yeah, it's trying to grasshopper out down the road.
Hmm.
Yep. Jersey Mike says yummies. Yeah, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. I like to eat. I like to eat. I will tell you that.
And I like to send pictures of food.
Yeah, I know. I know. And don't think I don't appreciate it.
One of these days, I'll make it back out there again, and I'll do some ribs and maybe a brisket or something out there.
That sounds good to me.
I
I'm all
mean,
for it.
you got the smoker to do it now, so
Yeah,
yeah.
small, but it'll do it.
Hey, mine works fine. Mine's not really much bigger than yours, so it's just a little bit wider, but
Yeah,
yeah, it doesn't. You don't need a big grill.
yeah. I mean, but you're in Texas. You have to have a big grill. It's supposed
Oh,
to.
there's some good sized ones here.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, there's some pretty good sized ones. But when it comes to feeding it sticks and doing the offset one anymore, no, I'll do the pellet now. I just turn the knob and it does its thing.
let it
Yeah.
go. Wally, yes, wait until all sprung weight is on the car. I'm removing the rear lowering kit now that the car is complete. It sits too low.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You don't realize that. You don't think about all the weight and mass, how much that
Mm-hmm.
affects, the car, but it makes a world of difference when you start adding stuff to it.
And when a car sits for a really long time without an engine and transmission in it, it doesn't matter if you put one in it; it's not going back down. Everything will get stuck in that position, and it just won't move.
Shane says Robert's burger picture gave me my monitor cholesterol. Ray, we used to have red top burgers here, like 7-inch round burgers with all the fixings. They closed, but I could eat a whole one.
Mm.
That sounds like a lot of burger, but yeah. Aaron, I hear the pellet smokers like the easy bake oven of barbecue.
Yep,
I
it's
hope so.
the flavor's not as good as an offset smoker. It's not, but the convenience more than makes up for it. The fact that if I want to do a brisket, I can set a brisket on there in the evening. I can put a whole bunch of pellets in it. I can go to bed. I can go to sleep. I can sleep all night long. I can get up in the morning, one time I almost forgot I had a brisket going, and then it was like, oh crap.
Yeah,
When I went out back, check on it, it's like, yeah, it's looking good, and I went back in the house. I wasn't having to tend to fire. I didn't have to babysit it.
yeah,
It doesn't taste as good, but the fact that I don't have to fight with it, I don't have to mess with it. I get a night's sleep.
yeah.
It's worth it.
Gene says I want to pulling the spindles off after the spring was in and was barely able to get it out. Looks like I will have to compress the spring to get it back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, more than likely. David, I went electric and haven't looked back. So I have not tried electric. So just have to take your word for it. Now we're talking food. I'm getting hungry.
I warmed up the rest of those ribs. I saved them for her because she was on a trip and she got in really late last night because we had a little bit some rain for a change.
Yeah,
So she got in late because she was coming from Minnesota, wherever, and it was coming down and went way out to West Texas, almost to El Paso, and then came back. So yeah, took the roundabout way, and it's like I left them for her, and so yeah, they're for you, and yeah, she didn't eat them, and then she went back out on a trip this afternoon. So yeah,
okay.
so I had to just finish them off.
Yeah, I don't
It
blame
was
you.
it was a tiny rack of ribs actually.
Yeah,
It was one
tiny
of the
rack.
it was well no really it was only about yeah it was the bones were only about yay long.
Okay, okay. Now I'm getting hungry. So let's. I'm gonna have to call this tonight and get in the house and get something to eat. Because we're kind of getting off topic, which is fine.
But
Um, but yeah, now I'm getting hungry. That's not fair. So anyway, so you're gonna have to get the compressor fixed or get a switch or
I just ordered a switch actually just a little while ago before the stream. I
okay,
just ordered a replacement switch, and yeah, at some point what I'll do is when I get a new compressor, it's going to go outside because
yeah,
I have to build. I got to pour a slab and I got to do all that to have somewhere to put it.
right,
But it's at that point is I'm not moving that one to the outside. You know,
right. Good
uh,
night, guys. Robert, what color is the car going to be?
black.
Ooh, okay,
I like black.
yeah,
And when we had found, there was a picture of one that we found a while back, and it was black with some like silver, like slight silver stripes or something on it. So now she wants something kind of like that.
yeah,
So, and I do want to do the little Shelby scoops on the side, from the fastback. I want to put because I just don't want it to look plain.
I got you.
You know,
Yeah,
we already got the hood that's got the scoop on it, so it's like I might, put those on too.
yeah. Why
You
not?
know,
You're building it your way anyway. So what's the difference?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna end up calling it a night here. So uh, glad you were here, and obviously adding more to the conversation. I appreciate that very much. Send
Oh,
me some
I'm
pictures.
just here to drive your viewers off. See, luckily I can't see the numbers on here because that number's probably going down.
Well,
It's
it's gone
economic.
down slightly, but that's okay. It's getting more towards the evening. Ray says black will be cool. Lots of sanding. Yes.
Yeah, no matter what, it's going to be. Yeah,
Yeah.
And
You
it's
know what
not
you're
going to be.
getting into.
It won't be perfect.
Well,
It's not going to be, but it's fine. You know.
yeah.
I am not the. There's a point when it comes to doing bondo and filler and sanding all that it's just like, okay, I'm done. It's not my thing. I just don't have a whole lot of patience for it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
All that
you know,
stuff is like therapy to me. I just
yeah,
keep going and going and going. Anyway. All
yeah.
right.
To me, it's tedious.
Well, it is tedious, but to me, it helps me up here, so
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
All right. Well, see
Okay.
everybody.
Well,
I'm gone, and like I said, if anybody's at Pate Friday, they get a free sticker from me for one of Barry's stickers.
I'll have to send you some more. So if you do that again, you can hand more out. So, but you need to get some of
Yeah.
your own made up.
One of these days.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right.
I'll see you later.
All right. Thanks for being here. All right, that was cool. Nice to have again have Robert on the chat here and talk about different things, give some different viewpoints and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, he's full of good information, so I appreciate that very much. But yeah, I'm hungry now. I'm going to go in the house and get something to eat. So I hope everybody had a good night. I thank everybody for participating and being part of this live stream. I'll be back again on Monday night at 7, and that'll be it. So until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.